Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Getting Started with 40k video. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course drop a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, with this series of videos, we are continuing to look through every different faction that has a combat patrol box from the 41st millennium, and we're going to build a small army for them on a budget of £200. Now, these are my personal choices, so there will be variations to what other people would pick, and also I do like having a variation of units, and not only that, I do sometimes pick things purely on their aesthetic and not on what their abilities are. So just putting that out there before anybody has a go at me and tells me off for picking things. Anyway, now the way this works is I'm taking pricing from Warhammer.com and an independent retailer. For this series of videos I have chosen Wayland Games as an independent retailer of choice, but of course there are many other great indie retailers out there such as Element Games, Goblin Gaming, Just Play Games, Leodis Games and such like. So it's worth having a look around, finding the best one that suits you and yeah, shopping with them, so why not. I will also be adding a rough point score at the end of each section, but points can actually vary based on the loadout, such as grenades that are taken and such like. So for this series of videos, we've already checked out some really good factions. We've had Space Marines, we've had Eldari, we've had Gene Stealers, and we've had things like the Leagues of Votan and more. So this time around, we're actually going to check out two factions that are, in all honesty, they're near enough identical, but they both have a uniqueness as well. So firstly, we're going to take a look at Sons of Sanguinius, the Blood Angels. So another Space Marine chapter. This combat patrol box contains a Primaris Librarian, an Impulsor for its hovering transporty goodness. We get 5 Primaris Intercessors, which is small. We get 5 Primaris Incursors, and we also get 3 Aggressors, followed by 2 Blood Angels upgrade frames. So it's an okay sized Space Marine force to get us going for 95 quid. And you do need them upgrade frames. I'm not going to lie to you, you need them upgrade frames because you bung them onto them so you can replace shoulder pads and such like in iconography to make them fit in with the Blood Angels army as opposed to the Ultramarine army, and away you go. So it's not too bad, but it needs something to kind of spice it up a little bit. However, I, in all honesty, would want to take in a few more units because you're not getting a lot in that box. So I would take a box of Blood Angels Death Company Intercessors. In all honesty, they're very generic looking, and you don't get a lot for your money, but they do come with a Blood Angels upgrade frame because it then makes them fit in, which is exactly what you want. And in all honesty, if you're going to go Blood Angels, you're probably going to end up buying a lot of the upgrade frames later on anyway. The other thing I would take is a box of Primaris Hellblasters. These guys are also very generic Space Marines, and there isn't many more options to make them more unique and to make it more of a unique army, so I would take these guys and at some point get an upgrade frame and add it on to them, and yeah, that's almost it. However, there is one last section to this army I would take, and that is something that is actually more unique. However, these are quite dated minis because I would take the Sanguinary Guard. So these guys are wearing golden armour, they have angelic wings on their jump packs, and they stand out. However, because they're older minis, they are not Primaris sized, but they do stand out on the battlefield because of that gold armour and those wings. So it's not too bad of a deal and a little bit of uniqueness. So if you were to buy that lot of minis, you're talking £200, which is slap bang on our budget. If you go into a third party retailer such as Wayland Games, you're talking around about the £160 mark, and from some others as well, so save yourself some money if you go into a third party, in all honesty. However, this is an army that comes in at 840 points, so it's not super huge, but it's also not terrible. So there are lower points values, but we'll see. The other thing with this as well, though, is there are many ways to upgrade this army and expand it with a couple of unique minis. So firstly, I would always recommend Commander Dante. This is the newer sculpt for Commander Dante, who's pretty damn cool, also fits in with the Sanguinary Guard, which is a really nice touch. The other one I would take is Mephiston, because he has armour that looks like it's out of good old Bram Stoker's Dracula, which starred Gary Oldman, and he looks pretty unique. He has a very, very different look to him, and a little bit different, so why not? Now we're going to move on to our next army of choice, and this is another Space Marine faction in all honesty, and so Space Marine factions are fairly generic. They don't have a lot going for them that makes them look different, so we're actually going to pick for Deathwatch on this one because they do have some uniqueness behind them. So if you were going to buy the Combat Patrol box for these chappies, you start off with a Primaris Lieutenant in his nice heroic sword held aloft pose. We also get an Apothecary, which is a really, really nice sculpt. I do genuinely like the Apothecary mini. We get 10 of the generic Primaris Intercessors. We also get 3 Aggressors, like we did in our last box. And we also get 2 of the Deathwatch upgrade frames. So you can convert and such like. So it's not too bad, but Space Marines are fairly generic. There's not a lot going on with them, in my opinion anyway. However, I would take a hero unit. So this is one of the HQ units in the shape of the unique Watchmaster, who looks just like he's a grizzled and stoic in his stance, and yeah, looks like a tough old bugger, but a pretty cool one as well. So not too bad. Now, I would also be taking something with a little bit more of a punch, so I would pick up a Venerable Dreadnought for some heavy hitting Walker Fun unit. It's pretty good. I do like the Dreadnoughts. They're pretty cool, they're pretty nifty, and they're very different, which is what makes them unique. But yeah, this is not the end of this army. I would also take another box. Now this box takes the shape of a kill team, and this is Kill Team Cassius. Now Kill Team Cassius has 11 minis to it. So we've got some named units here, and they are not all the same good old chapter of Space Marines. So we'll have a go through this, and some of these names are quite hard to pronounce, in all honesty. So firstly, you get Ortan Cassius, you get Thale Donatus. Both of those are from the Ultramarines, so one's a Stern Guard veteran, one's a chaplain. You get Zamion Gaidriel, who's a company champion. You get Rodricus Grit from the Imperial Fists. You get Antor Delasio, a Flesh Terror Assault Space Marine Sergeant. You get Idric Setorax from the Raven Guard, Vanguard veteran. You get Gensus Natorian, who's a Blood Ravens Codicer Librarian. You get Dren Redblade, who's a Space Wolves Bloodclaw. You get Gran Brantar, who's a Salamander Terminator. You get Enox Sorlock, an Iron Hands Stern Guard veteran. So that's 2 Stern Guard veterans in there really. You get Jetek Subrier, White Scars Biker Sergeant, and lastly you get a Teleport Homer and a Servo Skull. Them names are pretty hard to go for, in all honesty, and they're a bit unique though. So it's pretty cool stuff because you are getting a little taster of some of the key chapters of Space Marines. So you have Ultramarines, you have Imperial Fists, Flesh Terrors, Raven Guard, Blood Ravens, Space Wolves, Salamanders, Iron Hands and White Scars all mixed into one little kind of kill team. So they're a very unique set to take. So pretty good stuff. Now, if you're going to buy this bunch of happy chappies, you're talking £197.50 from GW, almost leaving you with, you know, just your bus fare home. Or if you were to buy them from an independent retailer, you're still talking around about the £166.50 mark, and their points value is around about 790. Now, I do kind of like that list. I think that list is pretty decent, mostly for Kill Team Cassius though, in all honesty. So it's a pretty good little list. So it gives you started, and yeah, you can add to it. And obviously, yeah, the Deathwatch do look a little bit different as well, or a little bit more unique anyway, because they lack a bit of colour. So it's up to you. That is it from me for this video. So we've had a look at Space Marines. Next time we probably won't look at Space Marines, in all honesty, but generally there are more Space Marines to look at. So yeah, at some point we will be back to Space Marines. But for now, thank you very, very much for watching and tolerating me rambling on. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.